The silver tray felt heavier than it should have. Maybe it was the weight of the champagne glasses. Maybe it was the black and white maid's uniform cutting into Naomi's shoulders. Or maybe it was the eyes of 40 guests burning into her skin as she walked through her own living room. "More champagne for my guests," Derek called out, snapping his fingers at her like she was staff he had hired for the evening. "Come on, don't be slow about it." Naomi's hands trembled as she approached the group gathered around the fireplace. Her fireplace. In her house. The house she had paid for with her own money while Derek told everyone he was the provider. The house where she had hosted dinner parties as his wife, not his servant. "There she is," Tiffany said, reaching for a glass without looking at Naomi. "I was getting thirsty." Tiffany wore a red dress that cost more than most people's rent. Her blonde hair was styled perfectly. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like she belonged at this party. She looked like she belonged in this house. She looked like she belonged with Derek. Naomi had found out about the affair 6 months ago. She had confronted Derek. She had expected him to apologize, to beg for forgiveness, to promise to change. Instead he had laughed. "You're lucky I keep you around at all," he had told her. "Look at you. Look at her. You should be grateful I come home at all." The abuse had started small. Comments about her cooking. Criticism of her clothes. Questions about where she went and who she talked to. Then he started controlling the money. He took her credit cards. He gave her an allowance like a child. He told her she was nothing without him. She had believed him. Tonight was his 40th birthday party. He had told her she would serve his guests. She had said no. He had grabbed her arm so hard it left bruises. He had told her if she embarrassed him, she would regret it. So here she was, carrying a silver tray, wearing a costume of her own humiliation, serving champagne to the woman who had stolen her husband. "Naomi, come here," Derek called. She walked toward him. He stood with a group of his colleagues from the marketing firm. They looked uncomfortable. They had known Naomi as Derek's wife at company events. Now they saw her as something else. "I want to make a toast," Derek announced, raising his glass. "To Tiffany. The most beautiful woman in this room. The woman who makes me feel alive." The guests shifted awkwardly. Some raised their glasses. Others looked at their shoes. Naomi stood frozen, the tray growing heavier in her hands. "And to my wife," Derek continued, putting his arm around Tiffany, "for knowing her place." The laughter that followed was thin and nervous. But it was still laughter. And it still cut through Naomi like broken glass. "Oh no," Tiffany said suddenly. She had tipped her glass and champagne spilled across the hardwood floor. The floor Naomi had picked out herself 3 years ago. "Clean that up, would you?" Naomi stared at the puddle. She knew what Derek wanted. He wanted her to kneel. He wanted her to get on her hands and knees in front of everyone and wipe up his mistress's mess. "Well?" Derek's voice was cold. "You heard her." Naomi set down the tray. She picked up a cloth napkin from the table. She lowered herself to the floor. The room went silent. She could feel them watching. 40 people. Former friends. Colleagues. Neighbors. All of them watching Derek's wife kneel at his mistress's feet. As she wiped the floor, Naomi caught a glimpse of herself in the glass door leading to the patio. She didn't recognize the woman looking back at her. That woman had hollow eyes. Slumped shoulders. The look of someone who had given up. But deep inside that woman was someone else. Someone Derek had never seen. Someone Derek had no idea existed. Because Derek thought Naomi was nothing. He thought she was just a quiet wife he had molded and controlled. He thought he had broken her completely. He didn't know that his quiet wife owned a company worth $200 million. He didn't know that the biggest contract of his career depended on her signature. He didn't know that every cruel word he spoke, every humiliation he forced on her, was being recorded in her memory like evidence for a trial. Derek thought tonight was his victory. He thought he had won. He had no idea that tonight was the beginning of his end. Naomi finished wiping the floor. She stood up slowly. Her knees ached. Her eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. "Good girl," Tiffany said, already looking away. Naomi said nothing. She picked up her tray. She returned to the kitchen. But as she pushed through the door, something changed. The tears that had been building didn't fall. Instead, they dried up. The shame that had been crushing her began to harden into something else. She looked at her reflection in the kitchen window. And for the first time in months, she saw clearly. Tomorrow, everything would be different. Tomorrow, she would start planning. Tomorrow, she would remember who she really was. But tonight, she would serve champagne with a smile. Because Derek had taught her how to hide her true self. And she had learned that lesson very well. 3 years ago, Naomi Bennett was unstoppable. She stood in her corner office at Horizon Digital Solutions, looking out at the city skyline. Her company had just closed a deal worth $50 million. Her team had worked for months to land the contract, and they had succeeded. Naomi had built this company from nothing. A small web design business in her apartment had grown into a digital solutions firm with 50 employees and clients across the country. "Naomi, the team is waiting in the conference room," her assistant announced through the intercom. "Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes," Naomi replied. She wanted one more moment. One more breath of this feeling. Success. Pride. The knowledge that she had created something real and valuable and entirely her own. At 32 years old, Naomi had everything she had worked for. A thriving business, financial security, respect in her industry. She had dated here and there, but she had been focused on her career. Love could wait. Then she met Derek Palmer. It happened at a charity gala. Naomi was there representing her company as a sponsor. Derek was there as a guest of the marketing firm where he worked. He was tall and handsome with an easy smile that made everyone around him feel special. "I don't usually do this," he said, approaching her at the bar, "but I had to come talk to you. You're the most beautiful woman here." Naomi had heard lines like that before, but something about Derek felt different. He seemed genuinely nervous, almost shy, like he couldn't believe his luck that she was talking to him. They talked for 2 hours that night. He was charming and funny and interested in everything she said. He asked about her work without being intimidated by her success. He told her about his own dreams of climbing the ladder at his firm. "I'm going to run that place one day," he told her. "Just watch." Naomi liked his ambition. She liked that he had goals. She liked that he didn't seem threatened by a woman who owned her own company. They went on their first date that weekend. Then another. Then another. Within 2 months, Naomi was falling in love. "I've never met anyone like you," Derek told her one night over dinner. "You're so smart. So driven. You make me want to be better." But something happened as the relationship progressed. Derek started making comments. Small ones at first. "You work too much," he would say. "You're going to burn out. You should take it easy. Do you have to talk about your company at dinner? I want to hear about other things. That dress makes you look tired. Maybe wear something else." Naomi started changing. She talked about work less. She dressed differently. She made herself smaller so Derek could feel bigger. Then came the money conversations. "I feel bad that you always pay for everything," Derek said one night. "It makes me feel like less of a man." Naomi understood. She wanted him to feel comfortable. So she let him pay for dinner sometimes, even though she knew he was stretching his budget. "I got promoted," he told her 6 months in. "But it's still not enough to give you the life you deserve. I feel like a failure." "You're not a failure," Naomi assured him. "We're partners. What's mine is yours." She meant it. She loved him. She trusted him. That was her first mistake. When Derek proposed after a year of dating, Naomi said yes. They got married in a small ceremony. Derek said he wanted intimate, not flashy. Naomi agreed. After the wedding, Derek suggested she take a step back from her company. "You don't need to work so hard anymore," he said. "You have me now. Let's enjoy our life together." Naomi hesitated. Horizon Digital was her baby, her identity, her purpose. "I'm not saying quit," Derek clarified. "Just let your partner run things day to day. You can stay involved behind the scenes." It made sense. Gloria, her co-founder and best friend, was more than capable. And Naomi was tired. She had worked nonstop for years. Maybe it was time to slow down. So she stepped back. She let Gloria take over the public face of the company. She stopped going to the office every day. She stopped introducing herself as the CEO. And Derek started introducing himself differently too. "My wife used to work in tech," he would tell people. "Now she stays home. I provide for us." At first, Naomi corrected him. Then she stopped. It didn't seem worth the fight. The control came gradually. Derek started managing their finances. He said it made sense since he worked in business. "I'll handle the bills," he offered. "You shouldn't have to worry about that stuff." He canceled her credit cards. He gave her a household allowance. He questioned every purchase. "You spent $200 on what? Do you think money grows on trees?" Naomi had tens of millions of dollars in her business accounts, but she couldn't access them without Derek asking questions. She couldn't explain where the money came from without revealing that she still owned the company. She had kept that secret to protect Derek's feelings. Now that secret had become her prison. The verbal abuse escalated. The criticism became constant. She was too fat, too thin, too loud, too quiet. Nothing she did was right. And then came Tiffany. Derek didn't even try to hide it. He came home smelling like her perfume. He texted her at the dinner table. He told Naomi she should be grateful he stayed married to her at all. "Look at yourself," he said one night when she confronted him. "You're nothing. You have nothing. Where would you go? What would you do? You need me." Naomi had believed him. She had let him erase her completely. But standing in that kitchen after the birthday party, something shifted. She remembered who she was before Derek Palmer. She remembered what she had built. She remembered that she was not nothing. She was a CEO, a millionaire, a woman who had created an empire from scratch. And it was time for Derek to find out exactly who he had married. The morning after the party, Naomi drove to an address Derek didn't know existed. Horizon Digital Solutions occupied the top 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. The lobby was sleek and modern with a waterfall feature and plants everywhere. Employees walked by with coffee cups, heading to meetings, starting their days. Naomi had built all of this. Every desk, every contract, every success story. And Derek had no idea. "Naomi." Gloria rushed toward her as soon as she stepped off the elevator. "I've been worried sick. I called you 5 times yesterday." Gloria Foster had been Naomi's roommate in college. They had started Horizon together in Gloria's spare bedroom, coding websites for small businesses. Now Gloria was the public face of a $200 million company, and Naomi was the silent owner. "I know," Naomi said. "I couldn't talk." He was home. Gloria's face darkened. What did he do now? Naomi told her about the party, the uniform, the kneeling. Tiffany spilled champagne. Gloria's hands clenched into fists as she listened. "That's it," Gloria said. "Naomi, you have to leave him. This is abuse. You know that, right?" "I know." Naomi's voice was calm. But I'm going to do it my way." They walked into Naomi's office. It was large and bright with windows overlooking the city. Her name wasn't on the door. Her photo wasn't on the company website. But this was her room, her view, her company. "Tell me about the Mitchell contract," Naomi said, sitting at her desk. Gloria looked surprised. "The Mitchell contract? That's been finalized for weeks. Big tech firm out of Chicago. Why? Who's handling their marketing pitch? I don't know off the top of my head. Let me check." Gloria pulled out her phone and scrolled through emails. "Here it is. The company doing their marketing presentation is." She paused. Her face went pale. "Naomi." "What?" "It's Palmer and Associates. Derek's company." Naomi went still. Derek had been talking for months about a huge contract that would change everything. A career-making deal. The biggest pitch of his life. He was pitching to her company. "When is the meeting?" Naomi asked quietly. Gloria checked the email. "Next Tuesday, 10 a.m. He's presenting to our acquisitions team." Naomi leaned back in her chair. Her mind raced through the possibilities. Derek was about to walk into her building, sit in her conference room and pitch to her people. He would try to impress them with his charm and his slides and his big ideas. He had no idea that his wife owned everything he saw. "What are you thinking?" Gloria asked carefully. Naomi looked at her oldest friend. The woman who had believed in her when no one else did. The woman who had kept her secret for 3 years. "I'm thinking," Naomi said slowly, "that it's time for me to go to that meeting." Gloria sat down across from her. "Naomi, I need you to think about this. If you reveal yourself now, what happens? Derek will find out about the company. He'll find out about your money. He could come after you in the divorce." "He could try," Naomi said. "But I've been thinking about this all night. I kept this company secret because I was ashamed. Because he made me feel small. Because I thought protecting his ego was more important than protecting myself." She stood up and walked to the window. The city spread out below her. Thousands of people going about their lives, making choices, fighting battles. "I'm done protecting him," Naomi continued. "I'm done being invisible. He wants to build his career on my company's contract? Fine. He can come to my building, sit in my conference room and pitch to my team. And then I'll show him exactly who he married." Gloria was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "What do you need from me?" Naomi turned back to face her. "I need you to set up a meeting with Patricia. Today if possible." Patricia Coleman was Horizon's chief legal counsel. She was smart, fierce, and completely loyal. If anyone could help Naomi navigate this situation, it was Patricia. "Done," Gloria said. "What else?" "I need everything we have on Palmer and Associates. Their proposal, their references, their history. I want to know every deal Derek has ever worked on. I'll have it on your desk by this afternoon." Naomi took a deep breath. For the first time in years she felt like herself. The woman who built a company from nothing. The woman who solved problems and made things happen. The woman Derek had tried to erase. "One more thing," Naomi said. "I want to be in that meeting on Tuesday. Not behind the scenes. Not on a phone. I want to be sitting at that table when Derek walks in." Gloria smiled. It was the smile of someone watching a friend wake up from a long nightmare. "You'll be at the head of the table," Gloria said. "Right where you belong." After Gloria left, Naomi sat alone in her office. She looked around at the space she had built. The degrees on the wall. The awards on the shelf. The photos of her team celebrating their successes. Derek thought she was nothing. He thought she needed him to survive. He thought he had all the power. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Naomi opened her laptop and started planning. She had 5 days until the meeting. 5 days to prepare for the moment that would change everything. Derek had taught her to be silent. To be invisible. To hide her strength. Now she would use that silence against him. He wouldn't see her coming until it was too late. That evening, Naomi returned home to find Derek in an excellent mood. He was sitting in the living room with a glass of wine, his feet up on the coffee table. The TV was on, but he wasn't watching. He was smiling at his phone. Probably texting Tiffany. "There you are," he said, barely looking up. "Where have you been?" "Shopping." Naomi lied smoothly. She had gotten good at lying. Derek had taught her. "Whatever. Listen, I need you to clear your schedule next week. I have big news." Naomi set down her purse. "What news?" Derek finally put down his phone and looked at her. His eyes were bright with excitement. This was the Derek she had fallen in love with. Charming. Energetic. Full of dreams. It was all fake, of course. She knew that now. But the performance was still convincing. "I've been working on a pitch for months," he said. "The biggest client our firm has ever gone after. A tech company called Horizon Digital. They're huge. Like $200 million huge." Naomi kept her face neutral. "I've heard of them. The meeting is Tuesday. If we land this contract, I'm looking at a partnership. Maybe even my own division. This is it, Naomi. This is the break I've been waiting for." He said it like she should be proud of him. Like she should congratulate him and tell him how amazing he was. She said nothing. "The thing is," Derek continued, "I need to focus. No distractions. So whatever you usually do during the day, keep doing it. Stay out of my way." "Of course," Naomi said. "And I might need your help with my presentation. You're good at that kind of stuff. Organizing. Making things look nice." Naomi almost laughed. Derek wanted her help preparing a pitch to win a contract from her own company. He wanted her to make his presentation look nice so he could impress her employees. The irony was so thick she could choke on it. "I'd be happy to look at it," she said. Derek smiled. The smile that used to make her melt. Now it just made her feel cold. "See? This is why I keep you around. You're useful sometimes." He went back to his phone. Naomi went to the kitchen. She stood at the sink and let the water run. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear. From anger. From disbelief. From the overwhelming reality of what was about to happen. Derek had no idea who he was dealing with. He had erased Naomi so completely from his version of their life that he couldn't even imagine she might be someone important. Someone with power. Someone who could destroy his career with a single decision. He thought he was the smart one. The successful one. The one in control. He was wrong about everything. Naomi dried her hands and pulled out her phone. She texted Gloria. "Meeting with Patricia set up?" The response came immediately. "Tomorrow at noon. My office." "Good. And Gloria?" "Start compiling everything we have on Derek's work history. Every campaign, every client, every reference. I want to know exactly what he's going to present on Tuesday." "Already on it. See you tomorrow." Naomi put her phone away. She started making dinner because that was what Derek expected. She moved around the kitchen, chopping vegetables and boiling water, playing the role he had assigned her. But her mind was somewhere else entirely. She was thinking about Tuesday. About walking into that conference room. About the look on Derek's face when he realized his wife was the CEO he needed to impress. She was thinking about justice. Not revenge. Justice. There was a difference. Revenge was emotional. Messy. Satisfying in the moment but empty afterward. Justice was different. Justice was logical. Documented. Thorough. Justice was exposing the truth and letting the consequences follow. Derek had built his career on lies. He had taken credit for other people's work. He had charmed his way into opportunities he didn't deserve. He had cheated and manipulated and abused his way through life. Naomi wasn't going to destroy him. She was going to let the truth destroy him. And then she was going to walk away and build the life she deserved. "Dinner ready yet?" Derek called from the living room. "5 minutes," Naomi answered. She stirred the sauce on the stove. She set the table for 2. She poured Derek another glass of wine. 5 more days of this. 5 more days of playing the invisible wife. Then everything would change. Tuesday couldn't come fast enough. Patricia Coleman was exactly the kind of lawyer you wanted on your side. She was tall and sharp with gray streaked through her black hair and reading glasses that she peered over when she wanted to intimidate someone. She had been Horizon's legal counsel for 7 years, and there wasn't a contract or negotiation that scared her. "So let me make sure I understand this," Patricia said, leaning back in her chair. "Your husband has been financially and emotionally abusing you for 3 years. He's having an affair. He forced you to serve his mistress at a party in your own home. And now he's about to pitch to this company which he doesn't know you own." Naomi nodded. "That's the situation." Patricia took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "Naomi, I've known you for 7 years. I knew you were private. I didn't know you were married. I certainly didn't know it was this bad. I didn't want anyone to know," Naomi said quietly. "I was ashamed. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Abusers are skilled at what they do. They isolate, control, manipulate. It's not your fault." Gloria put her hand on Naomi's arm. "We're here now. Let's focus on what happens next." Patricia opened a folder on her desk. "Okay, first things first. Divorce. You want out of this marriage, correct?" "Yes." "Good. Now here's the tricky part. Normally in a situation like this, I'd tell you to hide your assets until the divorce is finalized. But you've been hiding your assets all along. Derek doesn't know about the company. He doesn't know about your money. That's actually going to work in your favor." "How?" Naomi asked. "Because everything you earned before and during the marriage without his knowledge or contribution. He can't claim he supported your career or helped build the company. You have documentation proving you've been the sole owner and that he's had no involvement. More importantly, we can prove financial abuse." Patricia pulled out several documents. "I've been doing some digging. Derek controls all your joint accounts. He gives you an allowance. He's hidden money in accounts you don't have access to. That's textbook financial abuse. A judge will take that very seriously." Naomi felt a weight lift off her chest. "So he can't take anything from me?" "We'll have to go through the legal process, but I'm confident we can protect the majority of your assets. The house you paid for, the company you built, your personal savings. It's yours." Gloria leaned forward. "What about the meeting on Tuesday? Is there any legal risk if Naomi reveals herself?" Patricia thought about it. "Not from a legal standpoint. The meeting is a normal business pitch. There's no obligation for Naomi to recuse herself just because the presenter is her husband. If anything, revealing herself publicly establishes the timeline. It makes it clear that she owned this company all along and that Derek had no claim to it." "But won't it look like revenge?" Naomi asked. "Won't people say I rejected his proposal just because he's my husband?" Patricia smiled. It was a cold, confident smile. "That brings me to my next point. I've been looking into Derek's work history. Gloria sent me the files this morning." She opened another folder and spread papers across the desk. Campaign proposals. Client references. Performance reviews. "Derek Palmer is a fraud," Patricia said flatly. Naomi stared at the papers. "What do you mean?" "I mean he's been taking credit for other people's work for years. This campaign here? Written by his junior associate. This pitch? Lifted almost word for word from another agency. His entire portfolio is built on plagiarism and stolen ideas." Gloria's eyes went wide. "Are you serious?" "I have documentation. Emails, timestamps, original files. Derek didn't come up with anything original. He just put his name on other people's creativity." Naomi felt sick. Derek had spent years telling her she was nothing. Meanwhile, he was the one who couldn't create anything on his own. "What does this mean for the meeting?" Naomi asked. "It means you don't have to reject his proposal because he's your husband. You can reject it because it's probably not his work. And you can ask him questions that will expose that fact in front of his colleagues and your team." Patricia gathered the papers and handed them to Naomi. "You wanted justice? This is justice. You let him hang himself with his own lies." Naomi held the folder. It was heavy with evidence of Derek's deception. Years of fraud. Years of theft. Years of building a career on other people's talent while telling his wife she was worthless. After the meeting, Patricia continued, we move fast. I'll have divorce papers ready. I'll petition for financial discovery to expose his hidden accounts. And I'll make sure the story of what he did to you is documented for the court. What about Tiffany? Gloria asked. Naomi shook her head. I don't care about Tiffany. She's not my problem. Derek is my problem. Once I deal with him, I'm moving on. Patricia nodded approvingly. Good. Don't get distracted. Don't engage with her. Focus on your goal and execute. Naomi stood up. She looked at Gloria and Patricia. These two women had protected her company for years. Now they were going to help her protect her life. Thank you, she said. Both of you. Don't thank us yet, Patricia said. Thank us when it's over. Naomi left the office with the folder under her arm. 4 days until the meeting. 4 days until Derek walked into her conference room. She was ready. The weekend passed slowly. Derek spent most of it in his home office, working on his presentation. He called Naomi in twice to give her opinion on fonts and colors, treating her like a secretary. She smiled and nodded and gave him suggestions he ignored anyway. This is going to be perfect, he told her Sunday night. Horizon Digital is going to be begging to work with me. I'm sure they will, Naomi said. On Monday, Naomi went to the office. Gloria had transformed the main conference room for the next day's meeting. New flowers on the table. Fresh water in the pitchers. The Horizon Digital logo displayed on the screen. I thought we should make it nice, Gloria said. It's a big day. Naomi smiled. It's the biggest day. She spent the morning reviewing Derek's proposal with her team. The creative director, a young woman named Janet, broke down the marketing strategy point by point. It's not bad, Janet said carefully. The concepts are solid. The execution is decent. But, Naomi prompted. Janet hesitated. But I've seen this exact approach before. These ideas were presented at a marketing conference last year by a different agency. It's like someone took those concepts and just changed the names around. Naomi looked at Gloria. This was exactly what Patricia had predicted. Thank you, Janet, Naomi said. That's very helpful information. After the meeting, Naomi went to her office and closed the door. She stood in front of the full-length mirror she kept by the window. For 3 years she had dressed to be invisible. Neutral colors. Simple cuts. Nothing that would draw attention or make Derek feel threatened. Tomorrow that would change. She had bought a new suit the day before. Navy blue. Sharp shoulders. Perfectly tailored. The kind of suit that said power without saying a word. She tried it on now, standing in front of the mirror. The woman looking back at her was not Derek's wife. Not the woman in the maid's uniform holding a silver tray. This was Naomi Bennett, CEO, founder, owner of a $200 million company. This was who she had always been. Gloria knocked and came in. She stopped when she saw Naomi in the suit. Wow, Gloria said softly. Too much. It's perfect. He's not going to know what hit him. They went over the plan one more time. Derek was scheduled to present at 10 a.m. He would bring 2 colleagues from his firm. Horizon's team would include Gloria, Janet, the CFO, and 2 account managers. And Naomi, sitting at the head of the table. We'll let him get through his entire presentation, Naomi explained. Let him feel confident. Let him think it's going well. Then we'll ask questions. Gloria nodded. Questions about the creative process. About where the ideas came from. Exactly. And Patricia gave me some specific references to ask about. Things that will prove he didn't come up with this himself. And then? Naomi took a breath. And then I'll tell him the proposal doesn't meet our needs. I'll thank him for his time. And I'll show him out. Gloria was quiet for a moment. Are you sure you want to do it this way? You could just reject the proposal without the questions. Without the exposure. I could, Naomi agreed. But Derek has spent years making me feel stupid. Making me feel like I couldn't do anything without him. He told me I was nothing while he was building his career on stolen work. She looked at her reflection again. Strong. Confident. Clear. I want him to know that I see him, Naomi said. I want him to know that I know exactly who he is. And I want everyone else in that room to know too. Gloria hugged her. I'll be right there with you. I know. That night, Naomi went home and made dinner like nothing was different. Derek was nervous and excited, talking nonstop about the meeting. This is it, he said for the 100th time. After tomorrow, everything changes. You're right, Naomi agreed. Everything changes tomorrow. She went to bed early. Derek stayed up late practicing his presentation. She lay in the darkness, listening to his voice drifting from the office. He was rehearsing his pitch, talking about creative vision and brand strategy and market positioning. All stolen words. All lies. Tomorrow the lies would end. Naomi closed her eyes and slept better than she had in years. Tuesday morning, Naomi arrived at Horizon Digital at 8 a.m. She went to her office and changed into her navy suit. She did her makeup carefully, something she hadn't done in months. She styled her hair. She put on the diamond earrings she had bought for herself when the company hit 100 million in revenue. At 9:45, she walked into the conference room. Her team was already there. Gloria sat to her right. Janet sat to her left. The CFO and account managers filled the other seats. Everyone ready? Naomi asked. Nods around the table. At 9:58, the receptionist called. Miss Bennett? Your 10 o'clock is here. Send them in. The door opened. Derek walked in first. He was wearing his best suit, his lucky tie, his most confident smile. Behind him came two colleagues from his firm, both carrying laptops and folders. Derek was looking down at his notes as he entered. He didn't see Naomi at first. He was too focused on making a good first impression. Good morning, he said smoothly, extending his hand to Gloria. I'm Derek Palmer from Palmer & Associates. Thank you for this opportunity. Of course, Gloria said. Please have a seat. Let me introduce the team. She went around the table. CFO. Account managers. Janet. Herself. And this is our CO, Gloria said finally. Naomi Bennett. Derek turned. His face went white. For a long moment he just stared. His mouth opened but no words came out. His colleagues looked confused, glancing between Derek and Naomi, not understanding the sudden tension. Hello, Derek, Naomi said calmly. He tried to recover. She could see him scrambling, trying to figure out what was happening, trying to process the impossible reality in front of him. Naomi, he said. His voice cracked. You work here? I own here, she said simply. I founded this company 10 years ago. I've been the majority owner since the beginning. The room was silent. Derek's colleagues exchanged glances. Gloria kept her face professionally neutral. Derek swallowed hard. You never said. No, Naomi agreed. I didn't. Please have a seat. We're looking forward to your presentation. He had no choice. He sat down. His hands were shaking as he opened his laptop. His colleagues tried to help, but they were clearly rattled by the situation. Whenever you're ready, Naomi said. Derek cleared his throat. He started his presentation. It was good objectively. Professional slides. Clear talking points. Compelling brand strategies. If Naomi hadn't known the truth, she might have been impressed. But she did know the truth, and so did her team. Derek talked for 20 minutes. His voice steadied as he went, falling into the familiar rhythm of his pitch. He probably told himself it was fine. She was still just Naomi. Still the woman he controlled at home. Still the wife who did whatever he said. He probably thought he could still win this. When he finished, he looked at her with something like hope. Maybe even triumph. He had delivered his best work. Surely that counted for something. Thank you, Naomi said. That was very thorough. We have some questions. Janet went first. Can you tell us about the creative process behind this campaign? How did you develop the central concept? Derek smiled. This was comfortable territory. Great question. It started with a brainstorming session with my team. We explored different directions before landing on this approach. Interesting, Janet said. Because this approach is nearly identical to one presented at the National Marketing Conference last year by Thompson Creative. Were you at that conference? Derek's smile faltered. Yes, I was there. But this is original work. The language is very similar, Janet continued, reading from her notes. Almost word for word in some sections. Derek looked at Naomi. She looked back with no expression. The CFO asked about financial projections. Derek stumbled through the numbers. One of his colleagues tried to help but made it worse. Gloria asked about the implementation timeline. Derek gave an answer that contradicted what he had said earlier. By the end, Derek was sweating. His confident smile was gone. His colleagues were looking at their laps. Thank you, Naomi said finally. We appreciate your time. We'll discuss internally and be in touch. Derek stood. Naomi, can we talk? Privately? There's nothing to discuss privately, she said. This is a business meeting. Your proposal will be reviewed like any other. But, thank you for coming, Naomi said. Her voice left no room for argument. Derek gathered his things. His colleagues were already heading for the door, probably eager to get away from the disaster they had just witnessed. Derek paused at the door. He looked back at Naomi. His face was a mix of shock, anger, and something like fear. "We're not done," he said quietly. "Yes," Naomi replied. "We are." He left. The conference room was quiet. Then Gloria let out a breath. "That was incredible." Janet grinned. "The look on his face when he saw you." The CFO shook his head. "I had no idea that was your husband. I'm sorry for what you've been going through." Naomi looked around the table at her team, her people, the company she had built. "Thank you," she said. "All of you, for being here, for supporting me." She stood up and straightened her jacket. "Now let's get back to work. We have a company to run." As she walked back to her office, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in years. Power. Not power over Derek. Not power to hurt or control. Power over her own life. Power to decide her own future. Power to be exactly who she was. And that was just the beginning. Derek didn't come home that night. Naomi wasn't surprised. She assumed he was at Tiffany's apartment, licking his wounds, trying to figure out how his whole life had just fallen apart. She used the time well. She packed a bag with important documents. She gathered her jewelry and personal items. She moved everything valuable into her car. She wouldn't be staying in this house much longer. The next morning, Patricia called. "It's done," the lawyer said. "The divorce papers are ready. We can serve him whenever you want." "Today," Naomi said. "Serve him at his office." "You're sure? That's very public." "I know." Patricia paused. "Naomi, is there something else going on?" "I got a call this morning from one of Derek's colleagues. The one who was at the meeting yesterday. He wanted to apologize. And he wanted to tell me something." "What did he tell you?" Naomi took a breath. "He told me that Derek has been under investigation at his firm for 6 months. There have been complaints about stolen ideas and plagiarized work. The only thing keeping him employed was the promise that he would land the Horizon contract." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "So without that contract, he's done. They're going to fire him. And you want to serve the divorce papers today, before he gets home, before he can spin some story about what happened." "I want it over," Naomi said. "I want him to know that there's nothing left to save. The job is gone. The marriage is gone. The money he thinks is his is gone. I want him to see all of it at once." "That's brutal," Patricia said. 3 years, Naomi replied. 3 years of being told I was worthless. 3 years of being controlled and degraded. 3 years of serving champagne to his mistress in my own house." She looked out the window of her office. The city sparkled in the morning light. "He deserves to see all his lies collapse at the same time. Let him sit in that wreckage and think about how he got there." Patricia didn't argue. "I'll send the process server this afternoon." "And Naomi? What he did to you was abuse. What you're doing is justice. Don't ever feel guilty about it." "I don't." At 3 p.m., a process server walked into Derek's office and handed him divorce papers in front of his entire team. By 5 p.m., Derek had been fired. By 7 p.m., he was at the house, pounding on the door. Naomi didn't answer. She wasn't there. She was at a hotel downtown, sitting in a comfortable room with room service and peace and quiet. Her phone buzzed with texts from Derek. "You can't do this. We need to talk. You owe me an explanation. You'll be nothing without me." She blocked his number. The next day, she went back to the house with a moving company and a police escort. Derek was there, but he couldn't do anything with officers present. He watched as Naomi's team packed up her clothes, her books, her computer. "This is my house," he shouted. "You can't just take everything." "I paid for this house," Naomi said calmly. "Every payment came from my account. It's documented. Your lawyer can review the records." She walked out and didn't look back. Over the next few weeks, the full extent of Derek's deception became clear. He had hidden over $200,000 in accounts Naomi didn't know about. He had been stealing from their joint accounts for years. He had told everyone they knew that he was the provider, that Naomi was unemployed, that he supported the family. All lies. Every word. Patricia filed motions. Evidence was submitted. Derek's lawyer tried to fight, but the documentation was overwhelming. Naomi had records of every payment she made, every account she owned, every dollar Derek had hidden. The court proceedings were fast. Derek had no leg to stand on. And then there was Tiffany. Naomi didn't care about Tiffany. She had meant what she said. The other woman was not her problem. But the universe has its own sense of justice sometimes. A week after Derek was fired, Naomi heard through mutual acquaintances that Tiffany had left him. Apparently Tiffany was not interested in a man without a job or money or prospects. She had moved on to someone else. Derek was alone. Naomi felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not sympathy. Just nothing. He was a closed chapter. A problem she had solved. A lesson she had learned. She was ready to move forward. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Naomi sat in the courtroom and listened as the judge read the final decree. The house was hers. Her company was hers. Her accounts were hers. Derek was ordered to pay restitution for the money he had stolen and hidden. He sat across the aisle with his lawyer. He looked smaller than she remembered. Thinner. Older. The confidence that had charmed her 5 years ago was gone. When the judge finished, Naomi stood up and walked out. She didn't look at Derek. She didn't say goodbye. She just left. Outside the courthouse, Gloria was waiting. "It's done?" Gloria asked. "It's done." They hugged on the courthouse steps. "What now?" Gloria asked. Naomi looked up at the sky. It was a beautiful day. Clear and bright. Full of possibility. "Now I build something new." Over the next few months, Naomi threw herself into her work. She stepped fully into her role as CEO, no longer hiding behind Gloria or working from the shadows. She gave interviews. She spoke at conferences. She let the world see who she really was. The business grew. New clients. New contracts. New opportunities. But Naomi was building something else too. She started a foundation called Second Chances. It provided financial education and support for women escaping abusive relationships. Legal aid. Job training. Emergency housing. All the things Naomi wished she had known about when she was trapped with Derek. "Why this?" a journalist asked her during an interview. "Because when you're in an abusive relationship, you can't see your way out," Naomi explained. "You think you're alone. You think you're worthless. You think you need your abuser to survive. I want other women to know that's not true. I want them to know they have value. They have options. They can build a life on their own terms." The foundation grew quickly. Donations poured in. Volunteers signed up. Women reached out for help and got it. Naomi was making a difference. One evening, about a year after the divorce, Naomi was leaving the office when she saw someone standing by her car. It was Derek. He looked terrible. Unshaved. Wrinkled clothes. Dark circles under his eyes. "Naomi," he said. "Please. I just want to talk." She stopped a few feet away. Close enough to hear him. Far enough to stay safe. "What do you want?" she asked. "I need help. I can't find a job. No one will hire me. I have nothing." Naomi looked at him. This was the man who had controlled her, degraded her, made her kneel in front of his mistress. She felt nothing. "You did this to yourself," she said. "You built your career on lies. You treated me like I was worthless. You stole from me. You abused me." "I know," he said. "I made mistakes. I'm sorry. Can't you help me? For old time's sake." Naomi shook her head. "There are no old times. There's just the truth. And the truth is that you're exactly where you deserve to be." She walked past him and got in her car. "Naomi," he shouted after her. "You can't just leave me like this." She started the engine. "I was nothing before you," he called desperately. "Please?" Naomi paused. She rolled down the window and looked at him one last time. "You were nothing while you were with me," she said. "I was just too beaten down to see it. Goodbye, Derek." She drove away. In the rearview mirror, she saw him standing alone in the parking lot, watching her go. She felt free. 2 years later, Naomi stood at the window of her new office, looking out at the city. Horizon Digital had grown beyond anything she had imagined. 500 employees, international clients, a reputation as one of the most innovative digital solutions companies in the country. And she had built it all. "Naomi?" Her assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Your 3 o'clock is here. Send them in." The door opened and a young woman walked in. Her name was Brianna. She was 28 years old and had just escaped an abusive marriage through the Second Chances Foundation. "Thank you for meeting with me," Brianna said nervously. "Of course. Please sit down." Brianna had reached out after completing the foundation's job training program. She wanted to thank Naomi personally for changing her life. "I don't know where I'd be without your program," Brianna said. "When I left my husband, I had nothing. No money. No skills. No hope. Your foundation gave me everything." Naomi smiled. We just gave you tools. You did the work. But you understood, Brianna said. The other people in my life kept asking why I didn't just leave. Like it was that simple. Your foundation knew it wasn't simple. You knew what it felt like. Naomi nodded. I know exactly what it felt like. They talked for an hour. Brianna shared her story. Naomi shared parts of hers. By the end, both women had tears in their eyes. What's next for you? Naomi asked. Brianna smiled. I start a new job next week. Marketing coordinator at a tech company. Entry level, but it's a start. That's wonderful. And I signed a lease on my own apartment. First time I've ever lived alone. First time I've ever paid my own rent. Brianna laughed. I'm terrified and excited at the same time. Naomi reached across the desk and squeezed her hand. That's exactly how you should feel. That's what freedom feels like. After Brianna left, Naomi sat quietly in her office. The late afternoon sun streamed through the windows. She thought about how far she had come. 2 years ago, she had been kneeling on her own floor, wiping up spilled champagne at her husband's mistress's feet. Now she ran a company. She led a foundation. She had an apartment she loved, friends who supported her, and a life that was entirely her own. She wasn't looking for love. She wasn't waiting to be completed by someone else. She was whole all by herself. And that was more than enough. That evening, Naomi went to dinner with Gloria. To us, Gloria said, raising her glass. To 10 years of building something amazing. To us, Naomi agreed. They clinked glasses. You know, Gloria said, I've been thinking. We should expand the foundation. More cities. More resources. We could help so many more women. Naomi nodded. I've been thinking the same thing. They spent the meal planning and dreaming, just like they had in Gloria's spare bedroom a decade ago. The circumstances were different. The stakes were higher. But the feeling was the same. Hope. Purpose. The thrill of building something that mattered. After dinner, Naomi walked home through the city streets. The buildings glittered against the night sky. People hurried by on their way to restaurants and theaters and bars. She thought about Derek. She hadn't seen him since that night in the parking lot. She didn't know where he was or what he was doing, and she didn't care. It was a lesson she had learned. Nothing more. She thought about Tiffany. That woman had made her choices and would live with them. Not Naomi's problem. Never had been. She thought about all the women she had helped through her foundation. All the women still out there, trapped in relationships that were slowly killing their spirits. She would keep working. Keep building. Keep reaching out to let them know they weren't alone. And she thought about herself. The woman she had been. The woman she had become. Naomi Bennett had lost herself for 3 years. She had forgotten her strength, her value, her power. But she had found her way back. Not through romance. Not through revenge. Through truth. Through work. Through building a life that mattered. She was happy. Not the happiness of fairy tales. Not the happiness of being rescued or completed. Real happiness. The kind that came from knowing exactly who you were and being proud of that person. Naomi smiled as she walked through the city night. She had everything she needed. She had herself.